Hi, and welcome to Deep Vulnerability. This is video number 4.
Number 4, that's right.
And
they lived
happily ever after. Don't you wish, right? The interesting thing is, I think we all want that fantasy. We all want this amazing journey where we don't go through the moat and we end up at the castle with the prince or the princess, but we don't have to go through the struggles and we don't have to kind of do the hard part. And I don't believe, one of the questions that you wrote in was, what about the fantasy? Why do I want to immediately be vulnerable and honest and deep in my emotions and lose this amazing facade that builds the relationship?
You know what, sweetie, I think it's almost like, wouldn't it be great in the fairy tale with the princess and the frog that you could just avoid the frog altogether? I think we try to live that way, but it doesn't happen that way.
Yep, I think that that was a great question that someone wrote in, but the truth of the matter is, it is just that. No matter how long it lasts, it's a fantasy. It's an illusion that doesn't really exist. And holding on to it, as good as it might feel, will not get you closer to a good relationship and will not land you in a great place with someone. We all want to hang on to this facade, and we build these facades and illusions that are not real, and we can't stay there.
You know, I think in the question that was posed to us, one of the things was, when you're honest going into a relationship, it's like you lose some of that ecstasy at the very beginning of the relationship. And you know, I mean, how many of us love the euphoria of, oh, she's so wonderful, he's so wonderful, and then just give it a month later and you're kind of like, I don't know. Or worse yet, when you become vulnerable and you start sharing things, right, that it becomes a little painful and the fear of rejection sets in.
Right.
I mean, you and I, Bethany, we were coming up with some words kind of what the progression is, and it kind of really is about ecstasy that leads to this kind of illusion. Because we're not living in the truth of who we really are and sharing that.
Which is really a fantasy.
Which, let's be honest, is a stinking lie.
It's a lie. You're living a lie. And then what it looks like in a marriage when you're living a lie is you build a facade and you don't let someone all the way in. So they don't know your deepest, darkest secrets. And it goes both ways oftentimes, where you just don't know what's going on with each other at the deepest level. And if you are doing something and it bothers you on a daily basis, and you're going to the internet and you're searching for a child you think you might have had 20 years ago or something, and if you don't think you can share that with your spouse, then you are not at that deep level of intimacy where you share all of those emotions and all of those feelings. And what happened in my marriage, I can say, is by not getting to that really deep level of connection and intimacy, you seek it elsewhere. You fall into an affair and you want to have your needs met in another way because you're made for relationship and you're not getting that deep level of connection.
Well, and you know, Bethany, I mean, the thing that was a little hard for me in our relationship at the very beginning, because we had it, you know, we were honest. We've talked about it in our other videos, but, you know, I mean, is when I was honest about not only some of the things that were done to me as a child through some of the sexual abuse and some of the family problems, but, I mean, was once I grew up, you know, and how I was protecting myself. And again, I talked about it in the last video, so I'm not going to talk as much about it, but is the idea of fear caused me to meet my needs my way, and really what that is it's not trusting our Creator, God, to meet our needs and to do it His way, which is to be vulnerable, which is to share everything you were saying with my spouse. And honestly, I mean, I made lots of stupid decisions. One of them, after the fact, was an affair, and I'm not proud of that. And it caused a lot of destruction. And I pause even because it's still a little hard to share sometimes.
Yeah.
But you know what? Being able to be honest with you about that up front and share that with you, it freed my soul. And even though there was a little fear of rejection, it was so freeing to share that at the beginning of our relationship, and to try to share things even as we've gone. I mean, even recently we've shared some deeper things, and working through those. Every time we've done that, Bethany, I've always felt closer.
It's the opposite of what you'd expect. And one of you wrote in and said you've been with someone for 12 years and there's still things you can't share with her because you think she'll reject you. And the truth of the matter is, you will feel closer if you can get to that level where you can share those things. And it's absolutely the opposite of what you think.
It is.
It doesn't make sense. It's non-logical, but it makes you closer by being able to be vulnerable and realizing that your needs are not going to be met by this person. You are made by your Creator, and your Creator is the only one that can meet your deepest needs.
So let's make sure we don't miss that point, because I think that's really huge, and that is it's the opposite of what you think. Meaning, if you think that you're going to find ecstasy and fulfillment in your relationship by not being vulnerable, not being completely vulnerable, then you're never going to find intimacy the way that you need to. But if you work through the fear of being rejected, and you know what, you may be rejected by someone, but you know what, in your relationship, even as you're courting someone, as you share that up front, at some point you're going to find the same kind of kindred soul,
right,
that understands and that receives you just the way you are.
That receives you, right.
I mean, it's amazing.
And I think the media and Hollywood and the movies, they're hurtful to us, because we see the facade and we buy into it. And even the 50 Shades of Grey movie, which everyone was talking about, people go and you know what they see? They see sex and they see the illusion of the relationship. The truth of the matter is, the storyline is about a guy who was sexually abused as a child and is unable to be loved in a normal relationship. But somehow people don't see kind of the darker side of the soul issues that we embed in our lives, and our inability to totally accept someone and work through all of their issues.
And so again, I mean, that movie, which was all of an illusion, it was trying to meet their needs their way, as opposed to being really honest about their own issues, their own struggles, which is where you find freedom. Which the amazing thing is God has designed this thing in a relationship to experience tremendous peace. But Bethany, we were talking about before this video, and you were telling me, and I thought you said it really well, and I want you to say it. You were talking about, if you want to get to peace, you got to experience some stuff. You
got to go through the moat. That's the hardest part, right? You can't get to the castle to live your happily ever after until you crawl through the moat. And that moat is going through the deepest, darkest parts of you that you don't want to share, that are ugly, that you're embarrassed by, that you don't want to admit. And if someone can accept you, and if someone can accept all of those pieces of you, then you can get through the moat, and you can get to the castle, and you can get to your happily ever after.
Well, and I know, Bethany, you've shared so much with me that's touched my heart of your own struggles. I mean, your story is that you have shown you've gone through hell and back. And that's one of the greatest things of respect that I have for you. And I just want to honor you in front of all these people, because you are a truth warrior. And I appreciate your honesty.
So thank you for joining us for our 4th video, which is deep vulnerability. And we're hoping that you can find a way to share those deep, dark secrets within yourself with someone and move closer to your happily ever after.
See you next time.